So lots of things been happening in the world of video games over the last week. We've got updates on things that we talked about before. We're going to be talking a little bit about Geoff Keighley and Gamescom and all sorts of other stuff, so let's get into it. Hi, I'm Prob.
And I am Rob.
And welcome to News Trash, where we take an extended look at the more interesting happenings from the last 7 days of the world of video games.
We highlight a new release of note in this first bit of the show. Just running through some of the releases. There's Aliens Fireteam Elite, which looks good, honestly.
Yeah.
As far as Aliens games go, it looks like I can play it rather than hiding from playing it like you do with Alien Isolation.
Isn't that a team shooter, though?
It is, yes, it is. King's Bounty 2, which I've not heard of, but it's likely to be a strategy game given that sort of title. A kind of Bridge of Spirits, which the internet is mad for, but honestly, the more I see of it, the more I'm asking questions of that gameplay. It seems very, very basic.
Yeah, it seems kind of generic, the more you look at it.
Looks wonderful, gorgeous in fact, but the gameplay makes me question it a little bit, unfortunately. Also, there's Psychonauts 2, Have a Blast, and Absolov, End of Gods. And Psychonauts 2 is the one I want to highlight, really. The original one, I played it so many times, I remember literally all of the levels, and you don't do that with games that don't connect with you in some way. The war level, the milkman level, the Spanish bullfighting level, there's so many things going on there that are all sort of implanted in my mind. So the second one has a lot to stand up to for fans, I guess, because, it's so iconic and original. The question is, though, will it? And the other question is, well, it's not a question, really. The other fact is, I don't think this is going to convert people to like Tim Schafer's style, because he's a very idiosyncratic, weird, eccentric game maker. So this, for the people who like that style, is a huge, huge event, which we never thought would happen. But for those who aren't quite as tied to this sort of thing, it's going to be an annoying, obnoxious, weird little funny game that they don't find funny.
The thing is, I've been a big fan of Tim Schafer's work since before I actually knew who he was. Because most people will know Tim Schafer for things like Psychonauts, but me, I know Tim Schafer for things like The Secret of Monkey Island and Day of the Tentacle, which is available on GamePass. So if you got GamePass, I advise you play it because it's an amazing game.
I'm really looking forward to this. This is a game I actually never thought was going to happen. So the fact that it is, I don't really know what to do myself, honestly. So let's just jump straight into the news, shall we? I'm assuming it's more bleak, horrible stuff.
Yeah, but more updates of things that we've already talked about. So we're going to start off with that bastion of morality called Ubisoft Singapore this time. Now, we did talk about the dodgy stuff that's going on at Ubisoft Singapore a couple of weeks ago, but now they are apparently being investigated by the country's labour rights agency over reports of sexual harassment, discrimination, and various other things that aren't very nice to go into. It's the country's labour rights agency, as in Singapore's labour rights agency. So this is a governmental organisation. It is the Tripartite Alliance for Fair and Progressive Employment Practices. They received a tip about issues at the Skull and Bones studio last month, in just a few days after the Kotaku report detailed toxic culture, sexual harassment, and racial pay disparity at the studio.
Just to put this into context because this is just an update.
Yeah.
This is the central government. The California office for the Activision Blizzard story is one thing.
Yeah.
But this Singapore is the central government office, which is much, much, much worse.
Yeah. Because California is just a state. Yes, okay, it's the size of a country, but it is just the state of the United States. Thing is, depending on the outcome of their investigation, TAFEP could require Ubisoft to adopt certain preventative policies at the studio, and I get the feeling from the way that that's phrased that is the minimum that they'd have to do, is adopt certain preventative policies. So, moving on to, you mentioned California, so we're going to go there. The California department that's suing Activision Blizzard in that cataclysmic lawsuit, the Department for Fair Employment and Housing, they aren't all just going after Activision Blizzard. There is another company that's in their line of sights, and they are not happy with them. And that company is Riot Games, the League of Legends developer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that.
Yeah, see, Riot Games have been accused by the regulators, by the Department for Fair Employment and Housing, that because they're under investigation for in an ongoing lawsuit against the company, and they were ordered to tell their employees about the investigation and to tell their employees that they should take part in assisting with the investigation. Riot was ordered to send a notice to its employees on June the 4th to issue a memo that advised workers of their rights to speak freely with the government about unlawful workplace practices without fear of retaliation, regardless of non-disclosure or settlement agreements. The DFEH asked the court for Riot to make clear to its employees about their rights after the government body had acquired a number of settlement agreements made in the past, right? Now, according to the DFEH, they were alarmed by language in Riot's settlement and separation agreements that suggested employees could not voluntarily and candidly speak with government about sexual harassment and other violations. It also said that there was language that suggested workers could not obtain relief money from the lawsuit. It's really looking bad, because this is basically Riot Games going, we're gonna fudge this a little bit, hopefully they won't notice, and the DFEH going, no, we have noticed, gonna give you a slap on the wrist, now you're getting the hammer.
I have the feeling that the Activision Blizzard case was the tube out of the toothpaste.
Yeah.
And now...
Toothpaste out of the tube, you mean?
Yeah. It's the backwards reality that I'm talking about.
Oh, right, yeah.
And now that's happened. Agencies, they're just out for blood. They're looking for all these companies which are play fast and loose as employers. I think this isn't the end of it. And I think that we may see the dissolution of a fair few number of companies who've been playing fast and loose.
Yeah.
The way they treat people.
Yeah. It puts a new spin on, I know we mock them slightly because they did it, on Take-Two coming forward of their own volition going, we're completely fine, we haven't done anything, nothing to see here.
Yeah. While they're hiding up a tree.
Yeah.
And their building's on fire.
Now that we know Riot is also in the line of fire for the DFEH, and having seen what they've done with Activision Blizzard, they ain't taking prisoners. Moving on to another update. We did mention last week, this was, and how long a week seems, that it had come out that Google had apparently wanted to strangle Epic in the cradle because they wanted to stop the rise of various things. And they did actually label Epic as a disease. Yeah, words to that effect. I can't remember the exact wording, but it was like, it was as if Epic were a disease.
I think the term they used was squelch the threat.
Following that, recent court documents have appeared that suggest that they were willing to team up with Tencent to gain more control over Epic, even going as far as taking over the entire company entirely in order to achieve their goals. According to the document, it alleges that an unnamed Google executive suggested settling disagreements with Epic by acquiring a portion of the company from Tencent, which owns 40% of Epic. Google recognized that Epic might not accept its offer. As a potential alternative, the senior Google executive proposed that Google consider approaching Tencent, a company that owns a minority stake in Epic, to either buy Epic shares from Tencent to get more control over Epic, or join up with Tencent to buy 100% of Epic. Weirdly enough, that's a nice little segue to our first real story that isn't an update. And it's to do with self-publishing. Epic is actually beginning a closed beta for self-publishing games.
That's kind of a game changer.
Yeah.
Well, Epic, having the sway of Epic, having a platform like Epic, which, Steam users might not like them because it's another launcher, but they are a big company and they have a lot of impact on the industry, really. And allowing small companies, effectively, if this takes off, it's removing the need for publishers, which is something we've hinted at before in the digital age. age, what is the need of a publisher? And if this takes off, that is kind of that potential what if, that ball rolling.
Self-publishing kind of exists in video games, especially the PC market already. Steam do something very, very similar. And this will bring the Epic Game Store more in line with Steam and then become a viable alternative to Steam for developers.
Yes. The more companies do this, the more platforms do this, the less there is a need for publishers. And publishers are kind of one of the big problems in contemporary games, the way they treat the marketplace and treat their workforces.
Yeah. Bastions of the industry like EA, or they used to be when they were just Electronic Arts back in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
But now when you look at EA, and it's a massive mega corporation in video games, and it has all the hallmarks of that. That's the problem that you got. These companies get too big.
Success goes to every company's head.
Yes, quite literally. Speaking of a company that got drunk on its own success, Activision.
Again?
Yeah. This isn't about the court case, though. I suppose every Activision story these days will in some way be connected to the court case. Activision have confirmed that all of their core studios are now working on Call of Duty.
I find that honestly disgusting.
I find it both disgusting and disturbing that you're so focused on a single franchise to the extent that you're willing to stifle the creativity of your developers and your workforce.
Honestly, I don't think there's anything really more you can say beyond what you just said there.
Yeah.
And this is a company which has like a proud history of many, many very successful franchises.
Yeah. Call of Duty Vanguard is the new one, and development of that is led by Sledgehammer, with Treyarch handling Zombies and Raven leading Warzone. Additional development support across the two games is coming from Beanox, Demonware, High Moon Studios, Activision Shanghai, and Toys for Bob.
If ever there was a reason just to draw a line in the sand and say, Activision Blizzard, you don't deserve my money anymore, the way they've behaved with this court case and the fact that they're just making all of their developers, Call of Duty developers, I think this is the day.
Yeah.
Their eyes are bigger than the belly.
Infinity Ward is still adding new maps to 2019's Modern Warfare, and the latest map was in June, apparently. But, Toys for Bob do not have a history of making Call of Duty games.
Didn't they do in the remake of Spyro the Dragon?
I think so, yeah. They did that.
That's not a good fit.
Crash, I think they did Crash Bandicoot as well. Was it Crash 4 they did in the remake?
Yeah, they got quite good at doing old, or rejigging old platformers. So let's put them on Call of Duty. That seems like a good match. That's right up their street with all their strengths.
It makes no sense. Well, something that does make sense, though, is a continuation of the Call of Duty saga, let's call it, because it's taken on a life of its own. And like I said, all Activision Blizzard stories somehow lead back to the court case, and this is an example of it. The new trailer for Call of Duty Vanguard,
yes,
right, one thing that has been noticed about it is that the debut trailer for Call of Duty Vanguard, which premiered just last week, it's a 3-minute trailer, and it opens with Call of Duty Presents, not Activision Blizzard, or Activision Presents, or anything like that. That's followed by a Sledgehammer Games production, and at the end of it, there is no mention of Activision Blizzard, or anything like that. It has the developers, it has the website, it has the logo, Call of Duty Vanguard. Activision are nowhere on this trailer, which...
I'm sorry. How stupid do they think people are?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to relate this to politics.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of a perfect analogy. There's a thing going on right now where the British politician Dominic Raab is in trouble because he didn't make a phone call. So how does his press office circumvent the fact that he's getting a lot of heat for not making his phone call? Why they release a press statement with a picture of him making a phone call? So, wow, he does know how to make a phone call after all. He's a genius. And this is the same thing. All of this is happening. Everybody knows that Activision Blizzard is in the
Yeah.
Oh, no. They're not on that. So obviously they didn't have any interaction with or involvement with Activision over Call of Duty, even though they've been doing this thing for 20 years or so. It's absolutely new. New company. Nobody's doing it from Activision Blizzard. Absolutely no connection at all. No. They think we're stupid. People in power really, really think we're stupid.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand from their perspective, they're probably thinking, we'll put some distance between us and our main franchise because that's making us money at the moment. So let's not taint that franchise with our tainted brand. They're like, well, you make it and everyone knows you make it.
And have done since about 2004.
Yeah.
Well, people aren't stupid.
Yeah. See, this is the interesting thing. The Call of Duty franchise is only one half of the Activision Blizzard equation. See, we haven't talked about Blizzard. And Blizzard have been having a torrid time of it in terms of the court case. But in terms of the games, they've been having just as bad a time of it. Because World of Warcraft has not been doing well. And there's a story that's come out, and it's talking about the popular World of Warcraft streamer, who is now also a popular Final Fantasy XIV streamer, called Azmongold. Now, he has talked about massive changes for World of Warcraft, and what he has said is that Blizzard really need to address the MMO's decline in recent months, and what they need to do is... What he said is they needed this. WoW needed this because odds are the executives and the leadership that's in charge of the game will see this and they will restructure the team. I guarantee you that they will. What he is predicting is that World of Warcraft will be scrapped in its current form. He said that they're too slow at making decisions, they don't listen to the player base, and they constantly make mistakes, and they're always wrong with those decisions. The team that works on WoW doesn't know what they're doing. You don't lose over 50% of your player base and get to claim that you know what you're doing. What he said is that it would be better to overhaul World of Warcraft, that the game could go into super maintenance mode and re-emerge as a free-to-play mobile title with microtransactions. The idea is that they exhume as much of the game as possible and then they just kill it. Then maybe they make a Warcraft game, Warcraft 4, in like 5 years or something like that, which would be fine as long as that means we get WoW 2 afterwards. That is a possibility. See, this is the thing. Blizzard need to do something desperately because they have gone from having something ridiculous. I don't even know what the highest number of players they had at any one time.
They are that meme, man. They're the dog sat in the house that's on fire that's saying this is fine.
Yeah, they are. I actually don't know how many what the highest peak of players was for World of Warcraft.
The fact that people know what World of Warcraft is despite never having played it, the fact that people know what World of Warcraft is despite not knowing what games are, shows how big it once was. It's up there with the highest selling. It's up there with Mario and Minecraft. It's huge.
Right, I do. I've actually found it. World of Warcraft at one point had 12 million consecutive players at once.
Lot. That's a hell of a lot.
Do you know what it was at the when I looked last? Was under 2 million.
I thought it'd be worse, but that is huge. Huge drop in numbers.
Thing is, under 2 million and dropping like a stone.
And I imagine you could chart like a line graph of Final Fantasy going up and World of Warcraft going down.
Yeah, interestingly enough, people have done that. There's an interesting thing that Bellula has done about the state of World of Warcraft right now, and the graphs that he shows show you a massive drop in the number of players on World of Warcraft. That kind of ties in with the whole court case. Anyone at Blizzard who's thinking that the court case has nothing to do with it is kind of kidding themselves.
Yeah.
Speaking of court cases and stuff like that, something reappeared mysteriously that disappeared under a lot of controversy, and that is Aeon Must Die.
Yeah, when this was announced, it was like, oh my god, that looks awesome. I can't wait to play that. And almost instantly as that trailer appeared, the internet went, yes, but the thing is, that's stolen intellectual property, and crunch in that studio is like the next level. The original staff, I think, left.
Yeah.
And the owner of the studio, which is basically, he was a manipulative sort.
Yeah.
It was a really, really ugly story.
It was. Focus Home Interactive pulled Aeon Must Die, and there's been no announcements about it in the last year. They said they were investigating, but we don't even know what the results of that investigation are. So I will say this, Focus Home Interactive, you need to be more transparent and let us know what's going on.
That's the whole point of an investigation, so you let people know what they found out.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's back. Is it back under Focus Home?
Yep.
Yeah, that's really bad. There's no way to sort of salvage that. There's no way to look at this besides, the facts that are on the page there in front of you.
Yeah.
That game was shut down because of it being an awful place to work and a very, very corrupt workplace.
Yeah.
There's an investigation. Nothing was said about it, and it's suddenly back all of a sudden. Yeah.
Now, I can understand that companies want to protect their reputation and stuff like that, but in this sort of environment, in the environment that exists in the video games industry right now, with all these court cases and allegations and old skeletons coming out of the closet, right? I will say honesty is the best policy. If you've done something wrong as a publisher or developer, best to come clean about it and sort your house out.
And the fact that they haven't, this is a huge millstone around Focus Home Interactive's neck, which may cause a lot of damage down the line.
Yeah. A company that has many, 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 many millstones around its neck is EA. And EA has, they made a bit of a goof. They delisted a couple of free titles from GOG, from Good Old Games. Those free titles being Syndicate and Ultimate Underworld. Now, we're not talking about the new Syndicate. We're talking about the old Syndicate, which I am a big fan of because it was isometric, team of 4, going around doing all sorts of shady stuff. And I will never forget that game because in my head for the last 30 years has been just the minigun. And anyone who's played the original Syndicate will know exactly what I'm talking about. But yeah, Ultimate Underworld as well. It's one of those, classic RPG games. They got delisted, and EA got a lot of pushback from that, with lots of people going, well, why have you done this? EA has now said they will consider the player perspective after this misstep. It's not a big mistake, and it was quickly sorted out. The games are available again on GOG for free.
Yeah, the fact that they will consider the player perspective means they didn't consider the player perspective.
Yeah.
Consider that line of thought there. A games company didn't consider the game player's perspective.
Yeah. Speaking of GameIndustry.biz, EA's Executive Vice President for Marketing, Commercial and Positive Play, Chris Bruzo, has said the delisting came from a breakdown in the publisher's process for managing the digital titles it has on sale. It has since changed its procedure to avoid similar situations, which is basically business speak for one hand didn't know what the other one was doing and something happened.
Yeah. It's what happens when companies become too big.
Yeah.
And you have an absolute detached from reality like EA do.
Yeah. He has said, when making decisions that affect players, we take the time to review exactly what the potential impacts are and whether they serve the player's best interests. When we delisted Syndicate and Ultimate Underworld, we missed that step and so didn't fully consider the player's perspective. From the level of interest the players showed in delisting these games, it was clear that people still wanted them to be available, so we did two things. The first was to ensure going forward we have a process in place that considers the player's perspective, and the second was to relist the titles and make them available to as many people as possible with a month-long promotion. So they're only available for a month, so if you want them, get them. I would say the fact that it's exactly what you said is just remarkably bad. The fact that he's actually gone on record and confirmed that.
It's hugely bad. It confirms a lot of things that people suspected about EA. And to sort of glibly and cavalierly just come out right and say it. Wow.
Yeah.
That is way worse than I think it is. I think they've just set a small bubbling PR fire and I have no idea.
Moving on to Outriders, the developer People Can Fly has claimed that it hasn't received any royalties from Square Enix during the game's first quarter sales, and that's led it to assume the game has not yet been profitable, which would be a fair assessment if you haven't received any royalties.
Well, let's just give some context to this. At its peak, Outriders was getting 3.5 million players on GamePass, which is huge. And let's not muddy matters here. People use it as an excuse to say, oh, look, Game Pass isn't profitable. That's not what happened here. What happened here is between People Can't Fly, the company who developed Outriders, and Square Enix, the profit has all gone to Square Enix and none of it has gone to the company who actually made it. It's got nothing to do with Game Pass. Game Pass is just where it had its most success. Square Enix bad Square Enix.
Yeah. I honestly don't know what to say. On one hand, I will laud Square Enix for what they've done with Final Fantasy XIV. On the other hand, as a publisher, they're not doing too good. There have been various issues with their publishing department. With their development department, totally fine. Publishing, on the other hand, yeah. And that seems to be the trend. So maybe getting rid of games publishers, as you said, maybe that's a good move for the industry.
I think it is the future. I think developers do it themselves in the future. And with the Epic story, I think we're on the path.
Yeah. Speaking of DIY, Geoff Keighley, he has kind of teased a reboot of Saints Row, or an announcement of a reboot of Saints Row. He's kind of teased that he's going to be showing that or announcing that at Gamescom. That is kind of part of a bigger story, because Gamescom apparently will showcase over 30 titles, 40 games in total, but quite a lot of indie titles that haven't really been shown anywhere else.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the biggest reveal of the E3 season for a lot of people was Elden Ring, which he got the exclusive for.
Yeah.
So the fact that he got a title of that stature, what else is in that 30?
Yeah.
And also, I do believe he will have something for Saints Row.
Yeah, I reckon he will as well.
Which will be great. But the question here is, and it says reboot, I don't know what they'll have to do to reboot it, because if you go back and play Saints Row 2, 3, and the 4th, you can't really accumulate that now. It's very much of that time. It'll go down like a lead balloon if you do that now. So how, if this theoretical game is rebooted, I think they kind of have to change the style of humour a little bit.
Saints Row 4, I've got to say, 3 was fun, but 4 was a hoot and a half.
Yeah, I remember playing it on the PlayStation 3, and once you've upgraded all of the running stats, it was so fast that whenever I ran, it crashed the PlayStation 3.
Yeah. I like what they did with Saints Row. I like the fact that it looks exactly the same as something like Grand Theft Auto, but it's so very, very different in terms of its content, its tone, its atmosphere, and just the stuff that you can do.
Oh, it could be the satirical Grand Theft Auto open world game. Yes, by all means, still do that. That's what Saints Row is. That's where its success came. It's just its sense of humour, I think, needs to grow up a little bit. Because it could get it in trouble.
It could get it in trouble. It depends.
And you know what the internet's like now. The internet can be very, very vindictive. So if you jump out on day one with this big target on your back, you're not doing yourself any favours, really. But I do want to see Saints Row back. I do like Saints Row.
Yeah. Moving on to some very, very quick news stories. Death Trash has made its development costs back already.
That is fun because it's an indie game, a dystopian in which meat just grows and you open doors with vomit.
Yeah.
It's just very, very weird, and I'm really looking forward to playing it. And the fact that it's made its profit, a game that weird has made its profit back in early access, is just wild. Yeah. Well done. I can't wait to play. Success is already on the cards for this one. And great success.
Fortnite is also kind of in the line of fire because they've announced a new Imposter mode, which is clearly, very, very clearly, nicking the ideas from Among Us and putting them into Fortnite. And it brings into question, at what point does it stop being inspiration and start becoming plagiarism?
That's the problem with video game concepts. You can't copyright them, can you?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's Among Us, as big as it is nowhere near as big as Fortnite.
Yeah, and if Fortnite are doing their own version of Among Us, see, this is the bit where you get into the shady practices of the video games industry.
Yeah, big companies steal the idea of little ones and pass it off as their own, and it hurts little companies a lot more. As successful as Among Us is, it's a game by your little company. Right,
so quick story to send everyone to sleep before we wake you up with the next one. EVE Online. It's been a long time since I've mentioned anything about EVE on any show. There's been a war in EVE. Now, there's always a war in EVE. I know that's the thing that everyone says, one of the things that everyone says. But the war has lasted for the last year, and it's basically ended not with a bang like everyone wanted, but with what Polygon are describing as a cavernous whimper. Those who have been on offense have turned tail and run, and the defenders are putting everything into running them down. So it involves all sorts of coalitions and stuff like that. And at one point, there were something like 8,500 players all on at the same time fighting a massive space war. And this war also almost brought EVE's servers to its knees. It almost crashed the entire game.
The fact that it could manage just about all those players is kind of... It says a lot about what CCP are.
CCP, yeah. I know that several years ago, CCP actually went out and bought military-grade supercomputers just to run the game.
And that game tested them computers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that says that. You don't need to say anything else. That's it. That's the story.
I mean, EVE continues to break all sorts of records on the quiet. It doesn't make like a big song and dance about the game. It's nice to see EVE or a multiplayer game like that where it's free to play, just kind of making some positive headlines because the game has made it themselves rather than the developer.
Yeah, that's a nice change of pace.
Something that has kind of caught people off guard, Goodbye Volcano High has been delayed until 2022. Now, I'm not sure, are they dinosaurs in this game or are they just fictional animals? What are they?
The anthropomorphized dinosaurs, as far as I understand it.
Because some of them have wings.
Some dinosaurs have wings too, Rob. Pterodactyls. Are you body shaming pterodactyls? Shame
no,
on
I'm
you.
Just saying that their wings have feathers and I don't remember well, Archaeopteryx was a dinosaur and that did have feathers, so yeah. Geology, baby!
Yeah.
No one's ever said that in that tone, ever. I know you're keeping that in as well. Damn you. Anyway, apparently the global events of 2020 saw them have seen Sweet Baby Inc. rebooting the narrative, which is a bit of a strange thing to announce. Normally, if you're rebooting a game, you just basically say, we're rebooting the game. But a narrative reboot seems... I don't know what to think about that.
Starting the story from scratch, so maybe there was something in the story that they weren't happy with, preemptively stopping something before it happened.
Yeah, I'd say that's fair. It seemed... I liked the trailer for Goodbye Volcano High. I thought, there's something interesting in this, and I'm curious to see what happens in the game.
It had a twee Night in the Woods about it, and I love Night in the Woods, so I was intrigued, yeah.
Moving from that to the bizarre, Soulja Boy, who is that rapper who has been trying to break into the video games industry for a long time, even going so far as to attempt at making his own bootleg consoles that never saw public release. He has made a bold new claim. This time he is alleging that he owns Atari, which didn't take long for Atari themselves come to their own defense with a short but to the point statement. I don't understand. Why would you say that you own Atari when you so clearly don't?
Rappers are all ego. Which is he picked a very specific and wrong way to point his ego.
After his claims of being the first rapper to own a video game company, Atari quickly shot out the following small message. We know that CEO of Atari is a dream job, but that honour belongs to Wade Rosen.
It's just an instant put down there.
Yeah, basically. It's one of the more bizarre stories, but not the most bizarre story. The most bizarre story is, well, it's Frogger. Peacock TV are, they've released the trailer for their live-action game show, Frogger. Live-action Frogger, where you, the contestant, are the frog trying to cross the road, which is basically all sorts of things that are on water, and you can fall into the water. And I'm like, I don't understand.
Yeah, this is kind of a weird new phase for TV game shows, isn't it? Because on Netflix a few years ago, there was The Floor is Lava, so they're getting the weird inspiration from weird places.
There's The Floor is Lava, there's Frogger. What video games are we going to see, or what kids' games are we going to see next as game shows?
Musical statues where you run around the park, and if somebody tags you, you have to stand still.
Do you remember What Time Is It, Mr. Wolf?
Just saying, what time is it, Mr. Wolf?
Yeah, and then you have to get closer and closer.
Yeah. Any old kids game. Marco Polo.
Oh God, competitive hopscotch. Oh, wow.
It exists somewhere in the world, Rob. It exists.
It will do. For our, penultimate, this is a really nice one. For 22 years of his life, Lual Mayan lived as a refugee in a camp in northern Uganda. His parents fled from South Sudan and its decades-long civil war, and against all odds, he made a mobile game about peace, and that became his ticket to a new life. He migrated to the US and became a game developer, and while he's still trying to make it in games, he's already done something really positive. He set up the Lual Mayan Foundation to help refugees, and Unity Technologies has partnered with the foundation to fund a tech center for refugees at the camp in Uganda where he grew up.
I mean, I don't really want to comment on this too much. I think just that story is just heartwarming in a video game industry which is eating itself alive and corrupt and devalues humans and devalues manpower. For it all that to be happening on one side and for this to be there too.
I mean,
we need more stories like this. This is just genuinely heartwarming stuff.
Yeah, don't really have anything to add to that. It's I love that story. I think that it's just brilliant. Another thing that has been showing itself as kind of brilliant is our final bit, which is our trailer trash. And this one has probably already started playing. It's the new trailer for Black Myth Wukong, which is the game that has kind of taken the gaming side of the internet by storm. A Chinese-made action game based on Journey to the West, starring everyone's favourite great sage equal to heaven, Wukong, or the Monkey King.
Yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to this. The more I see of it, the more I want to play it. It's just genuinely, it looks beautiful. And its monster creation is unlike anything out there at all.
Now, we talked a little bit about this when we did our episode of Impossible Mission on China. We called it the Sleeping Titan of video games. And if Black Myth Wukong is an example of what can come out of China in terms of video games development, then the Western developers and publishers really need to take notice.
Yeah, because this looks like a real lightning in a bottle moment that could have a very good influence on the video game industry, and it just looks amazing. But how much it takes from the Souls-like formula, I'm remaining skeptical about.
See, I think that it doesn't take as much from the Souls-like formula as people think. I'm very familiar with Journey to the West and the characters in Journey to the West, and what I think it will probably go with is The Witcher, rather than being a Souls-like. I think it'll be more like The Witcher 3.
Maybe.
We'll see. Anyway.
I'm going to be getting it and playing it either way. So.
Yeah.
Right, that is all we have time for. Thank you very, very much for listening. If you enjoyed the conversation and you want to pass anything, if you want to pass comment on any of the stories that we've talked about, please do in the comments below and we'll chat with you about it for the first day this video is live. Please don't forget to subscribe, click that notification bell and like the video because it helps us out a great, great deal. We have a Patreon which includes exclusive content in Director's Lottery and more pop screen. Some Patreons are on the screen now. Your name will be added if you join them. But until next time, where we'll have more news and more trash, thanks for watching.